Welcome to the U of L Early Start Talk Show. Today, we have our guest, Beth Evenson.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Of course. So how are you finding campus life so far?
So, the campus is really, really big, so at the very start it was hard to, navigate and get around and know where I was, but now that I've, explored more, I'm kind of getting my bearings. I think the scavenger hunt on September 4th was really helpful, getting to learn, stories and different places that I probably wouldn't have known existed. Also, there's so many clubs and teams and different things to get involved in, and I just think that's really fantastic. It would be great.
That's really interesting. So, what skills have you learned this past week that you think you'll find useful?
I think some really important skills that I've learned the past few weeks is how to study during the sessions with Dr. Maranowski. Just learning, I can revise after class just to renew my knowledge and maybe figure out the things that I'm lacking on. Never really thought of that, so I think that's really fantastic. And then also learning how to cite and where I can find different resources, like in the library helping. And just generally avoiding academic offenses like plagiarism and not paraphrasing correctly. I think those are all really important skills that I've definitely learned how to use in the past couple of days.
That's good to know. So, what are the readings stood out most to you? What do you find interesting about them?
I thought that The Moon of the Crusted Snow was just a really interesting book, and I really enjoyed learning about different cultures in it, and the different perspectives that it just added to different issues and ideas. I also found the document What Do I Do If really, really helpful, because there are lots of things that I probably wouldn't have known the answer to if I hadn't gone through it with my project group, and I think that was just a really helpful thing to get to have.
So, do you think you've developed since starting this class?
I think that it's definitely helped me to grow out of my shell, and I definitely pushed myself to become more involved in group conversations and trying to make friends. I know I have a hard time asking questions, so definitely pushing myself to ask the questions that I need to ask, just to make sure I'm not confused. But I think I've definitely experienced quite a lot of personal growth just in this class so far.
So, what do you think are some good resources to help with the transition to university?
I think some really good resources for the transition to university is the counseling services that are offered, because we all know we get a little bit overwhelmed just with school, and definitely changing from high school to university. It's definitely can be a lot. I think that's just a really helpful thing to have. The clinic that is also offered for students who may not have care providers or doctors or dental, I think is also really fantastic. And the services that are offered in the student union, that can just be generally helpful. Academic advisors figuring out what you need to do for your degree. I think there's a lot of things that are really good assets to explore.
Those are definitely good to know. So, what are some ideas that have changed since you've come to the university?
I think the idea that I would be completely alone with my struggles and not have anywhere to turn to, or not have anybody with helpful advice or resources. I know you can ask your friends and people that you know, and parents, as many questions as you can, but they might not always have the best resources. I know that definitely was something that I came in thinking, and now that I know the different resources that I can use, which I just talked about, I'm a lot better set
for if I need help or something like that. And then I think an idea that I also came in with is that it would be just like high school, where I don't get to use my own opinions or work on things how I want to. Like I know once I start essays and things, there'll be different structures, but I'll at least be talking about something that I hope would interest me. But just the fear of not having that ability to be creative, I think, was definitely something that I thought was going to happen, but it's definitely changed. Alright, thank you so much for coming on the show, and thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.